because we got a call from the principal's office. And it seems that my daughter at recess time was in an altercation. A girl was throwing mud at her, and she asked her to stop, and then she kept throwing mud at my daughter, and she asked her to stop again. And then she didn't stop, she kept throwing mud, and so my daughter made her stop. And, as a parent, it did get out of hand, though, because when the altercation started happening, all the boys gathered around and were like, fight, 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 you know how they do. And so it did get a little out of hand. But it reminded me immediately of when I was at Garfield Elementary back in the day. And I was exiting through these big, I think they were green, these big green doors. I was in 4th grade, I think. And I threw open the doors, and there was a kid, and Nathan, I know you're not here, but I'm going to talk about you. Nathan was there, and he had his crony Jimmy right next to him. And I walked through the door, and I didn't even know Nathan at all. And Nathan just pushed me really hard in the chest, and I went flying back. And I was like, what? No. And then I went up to him and pushed him in the chest. And then he took 2 quick steps and he punched me right in the face. And I had never been punched before, as a 4th grader. And my tears started coming down my eyes, and I was seeing stars. And something in me sort of snapped. And then I just took 2 quick steps towards Nathan. I closed my eyes and I swung as hard as I could. And I felt and heard a little crunch. And I looked up and I think I broke his nose. And his nose started to bleed. And he was like backing away from me, looking a little scared and swinging his backpack. And I was all amped, and I was like, is that all you got? and so then, as I was kind of chasing him back, and his friend Jimmy was like, didn't know what to do, all of a sudden Mr. Oakley shows up out of nowhere, and then the principal, and they take me into the office with Nathan, and then I start to realize, I just made this kid's nose bloody, I'm probably in some trouble here. And so I'm sitting there, and they go talk to Nathan first, and they come back to me, and they start talking to me. And then they're whispering to each other, actually, not talking to me yet, and I'm just kind of watching them. And then I start to get the feeling like, maybe I'm not really in trouble right now. And then come to find out that Nathan had been picking out a bunch of kids, and I was the first one to punch him back, and they were kind of stoked that I did, actually. I just remember them telling me, like, okay, just be careful when you walk home, because I always walked home. They're like, be careful when you walk home, because Nathan's got some buddies, and they might rough you up. So then I was like terrified because his friend Daniel was rumored to be great with nunchucks. And do you guys remember the ninja movies? They had like Chinese stars. He also had Chinese stars. I was like, I'm gonna die. So I just remember being like scared going home all the time. I like went different ways home for several weeks, always expecting to turn around and see a Chinese star like flying towards me. But that never happened. But I remember when I got home, I was like, this is when I'm gonna get in trouble, because I'm a preacher's kid. And I was like, my dad just probably taught about turning the other cheek, which I did not do. So I remember him talking to me, and I remember that I didn't get in that much trouble from my dad either, but I think I got in a little trouble. And then time went by, and my father and I never spoke about this again. And I just thought, even as an adult, I was like, you remember that time? Like, we never talked about it. And so out of the blue, on Son's Day, which was a little while ago, and I don't really know what day that was, but I got a note from my dad. And it was really sweet, and he was like, son, I just want you to know, he's 80 now. And he's like, I just want you to know that your mom and I love you, and we're so glad that you're our son. And then in parentheses, right then, out of nowhere, it said, and I'm so glad that you punched that bully in the nose. Sometimes we wait for a while to say something, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, this song is actually inspired by my grandpa Claude. He had the brightest blue eyes, and he and my grandma lived in Sweet Home, Oregon. And when I look back, I realized that they never had much. When we would visit them, we would go to a trailer park and see them at their trailer. But they always had so much love, and they really left behind a beautiful legacy. This song is called Carolina Blues. Now, Grandpa was a preacher, and he led the singing too. And Grandma used to yodel and tell us what to do. And Grandpa drove a limousine, but just on Saturdays. And he'd tell the crying families about Jesus by the grave. And he was always smiling and whistling a tune. But Grandpa had the kindest eyes, Carolina Blues. And once I knew this girl whose Grandpa was a millionaire, and when he kicked the bucket, well, she was the only heir. And he left her with everything, more than she could dream. Truckloads full of money, with the castle by the sea. But he was always lying, as selfish as could be. So he left her with empty words and painful memories. And now Grandpa didn't leave me money I could spend. You see, I guess that he didn't have much money in the end. But my grandpa was an honest man, seeking after truth. And Grandpa had the kindest eyes, Carolina blue. Now Grandma had a daughter, and then she had 2 sons, and one became my father when he and Ma were done. No one likes to think about that exact moment. And I might be the richest man to ever walk this earth, 'cause I was left with so much more than money could be worth. And my dad's just like my grandpa, he's wearing worn out shoes, but he's a man that I can trust, always tells the truth. And now maybe Dad won't leave me money I can spend. You see, my guess is that he won't have much money in the end. But my father is an honest man, seeking after truth. And Daddy got my grandpa's eyes, Carolina blues, Carolina blues. So I actually wrote this song a very long time ago before I had a family of my own, and I decided I should write another verse of this song, so I did that. Here we go. And now I am a father, I've got 3 little girls, and everything is different since they came into the world. And fame and fortune seems to me the emptiest pursuit. I'd rather know my daughters well and see them grow up too. And we all know how time can slip away from you. So God help me to be a man that always follows through. I wanna do what I say I'll do. And now I sure hope I leave them money they can spend. But you know I am a songwriter, so the money's in the wind. And like my dad and grandpa, I'm seeking after truth. And when I look into the mirror, I see Carolina blues. And grandpa, it makes me think of you. These Carolina blues. You know all my daughters got them too. Carolina blues.